My name is Lesley-Ann Brown, and I'm a writer, poet, activist, and educator. I was born in Brooklyn, New York. My family lived on Ocean Avenue. I lived in Brooklyn until I was around 10 or 11, and I went to live with my grandparents in Trinidad and Tobago. As with all children, I was very much influenced by the environment in which I was born. As a young girl, and particularly a young black girl with the history that we have in the West, one of the things that I was to learn, talking about referencing something that I write about in the book, is that many of us get sexualized very violently, and that impacts our relationship to our own bodies and to others. Our foremothers had to learn that they couldn't speak up about it because there was no protection. And they also had to learn to teach their daughters that. Our whole culture in the West is based upon that, and that is very much inherent in white supremacist, patriarchal, capitalist society. Like, it's very dependent on people shutting up and feeling shameful for things that are actually done onto them. I often wonder what it was like back then. What was it like before them? Who were we before them? Why do I speak in the tongue that I do? What did we get for our ancestral sacrifices? Tree-lined boulevards and arches, democratic lies and fascist marches. They said that their education would liberate me, but all it really did is try to silence me. I decided to write this book because I wanted my son to have some sort of knowledge about his family history. I also noticed in my many years of being an educator in Denmark that there was a lack of knowledge about what colonialism meant to people from the part of the world where I came from. And I felt that this deficit in knowledge in terms of Danes and in a broader sense Europeans plays a very big role in the global affairs of today. And I wanted to do my part in putting together information that was easy to access for people who care to understand what history looked like for many other people outside of Europe. Son, all my life I've been curious about those in our family who came before me. Like so many other children, I was born asking questions. Who are we? Why are we here? But as the descendant of a colonized people who were forced to forget their own beginnings through violence, and of a family who came to believe all that empire had taught them, the answers I received were not designed with the intent of empowering little brown girls. The transition of moving from the US to Denmark was really interesting because I had believed that Europe was more liberal than the United States. Seeing how, these colonial imperial policies are still very much at work, but then being amongst people who don't even want to understand what the role of the color of their skin has played and continues to play in all of this was just mind-boggling. The book came out of a kind of a challenge between my son and myself. It's a combination of things. So the first one was that I wrote an article about the 13th Amendment, the book. And I wrote that in the form of a letter to my son. So I wrote this article and I asked him, I was like, well, have you read the article? And he was just like, no. He's just like, why don't you just write me a book and I'll read it? And then I had a conversation with my friend, the writer Dimitri Leger, who's written the book God Loves Haiti. And we were talking and I was working on a few projects and he was just like, Lesley, you should write a book of letters to your son. He's just like, wow, my mom wrote a book for me. It's, you could see he's very pleased about it. The strength and power of Black America lies in our DNA. It's a multi-billion-dollar industry to get us to forget how great we are. Everything you see, you gotta turn it around in order for it to be truthful. So the power structure that we see today, Yeah, think about that. What others have attempted to erase is still with us. The waters, if we are still, whisper our stories. We Sun are island people. From the twin nation of Trinidad and Tobago to Manhattan and Brooklyn on Long Island, Maui, Zealand, and Denmark, islands have always been a part of our lives. What is a baby in her mother's womb if not an island, surrounded by the natal waters that speak in a language of memory?